Welcome to the Books on Air podcast. I'm Suzanne Harris, and my listeners get the backstory behind every book. Joining me today is Robert A. Wilson. He's here to talk about his book of poetry, My Wisdom Breathes, Wisdom Energizes Fun. Now, Rob is a real jack of all trades. He does so many interesting things. Not only is he a published author, but he's also a speaker, a teacher, a hypnotherapist, and a radio show host, as well as owning a company called Cowboy Wisdom Enterprises, LLC. Rob, you do so many things. Thank you so much for being with us today on Books on Air. It's an absolute pleasure.
Well, it's my honor and privilege to be here, and thank you for having me.
You know, I'm curious. I always wonder how the writer becomes the writer. People write for all kinds of reasons. You know, sometimes they were a child and they started to read and they were captivated by the idea of the story, and so they begin to write. Or a teacher or a professor makes an assignment and a student does the assignment and the teacher looks at it and there's a spark. They realize that this person can write. Or sometimes people will have a seminal event that will happen in their life, and that event, whether it's positive or negative, almost seems to push them to write a book. What's the backstory behind Rob? When did you first start writing?
Well, it was in 1997. I was working in Portland, Oregon, and I'm a union electrician, and I was working in Portland, Oregon, and my life wasn't going anywhere where I wanted it to or desired it to. So I got into a home-based business that pushed personal growth. And from there, I just really grasped onto the personal growth and expanded myself. And then in 2001, I wrote a book, Wired for Change by a Journeyman. And since then, I just kept expanding, and energizing my writing abilities to understand that if I write a book to teach the world, I liberate myself. And in 2009, I discovered the words expand, energize, enterprise, and experience, which arises you above your analytical mind and allows you to expand. And since then, I've just been writing books. And My Wisdom Breathes is the latest one, but I stopped telling people where to go, and I show people the way I expanded my life and allow them to uncover and discover their own talents and wisdom to move forward. And if you use wisdom instead of knowing and thinking, you become curious about life.
This is poetry. I'm always curious about what draws a person to poetry. Now, this is different poetry, and I want you to explain to our listeners exactly how the book is set up, because it's very different than any poetry book I've done in the past, and I really think it's very interesting and it's very creative.
Well, this is my natural way of writing, and I really never liked fitting into society, so I call it my unsocietized wisdom and my political incorrect acumen to expand. But this is just something I discovered on the way I expanded my life, and it's my way of writing poetry, but it's also my way of imprinting new images and stuff and things in my subconscious and unconscious landscape. But my poetry, it comes from a cowboy background and through the oil field, and I have to admit it's just my natural ability to do this.
The thing that's different about it, though, is that you have words that you have made up. There's little or no punctuation. It's just very interesting. In the very front of the book, My Wisdom Breathes, there's a glossary of new words. How did those words, do they just come to you as you're writing?
Yes, and they do. And see, here's the thing. Everything in a book and everything in the dictionary is what other people want you to know and how they want you to act. So if you make your own vocabulary, your own words, you expand your life. But Also, by expanding your vocabulary, you enhance your confidence and you energize your courage to move forward. And you got to dare to be different than society. And that's what this book does. It allows you to be different than society and opens your eyes to your own enterprising whys, because you can dance on your own dance floor when you adore yourself. And that's kind of the way it goes. And you get in the flow of rhymes. And these rhymes are just like when you teach a child through rhymes while you expand your life through rhymes. And this is my way of expanding my life, and I'm showing people the way I expanded it. And my Wisdom Breathes is a book you can carry with you anywhere in the world. If you're having a bad day or even a good day and want to enhance either one, you can open it to any page and read it. There is no not words, there is no negative words, and we never talk about the past. And if the past is in there, it's about discharging and disconnecting from the past to be of now. Because we're going to think and know our way to yesterday. We're going to innovate with imagination to everything we desire.
You also talked about the fact that I love it that you say people can just pick up the book and begin to read, but one of the things that you recommend is to read the work out loud. Why did you recommend that you read the work out loud?
Well, a friend of mine, she says, I get twice as much out of it if I read it out loud because you hear yourself say it. And this book is written in first person, so when you read it, it acts like you wrote it. Your subconscious and unconscious and inner landscape never understand that. But when you read it out loud in your voice, you hear yourself speaking about that. And there is no not words in here. I don't use any, I only write forward looking, like trendsetter, trailblazer. And it's unleash and unlock. It's letting fly your own inner whys. And that's what this book is about. But my Wisdom Breeze will open you up to your own talents. And that's the thing. It's your innovation, your imagination. See, there's a word in there called IWIT. It's illuminated imagination, wisdom, inspiration, intuition, innovation, and trailblazer talent. They'll take you to your promised land. Trying to read a book with punctuation, you're trying to understand and know what the writers want you to know. This book, you discover your own path, and you get the feeling of freedom while you read the book.
Now, this book is not short. I mean, this book is 237 pages long. Where did you find your inspiration for each one of the poems?
I write every day and I wrote this book. It probably took me 2 years, but where I get the inspiration is through my daily life. And I'm always listening and querying myself for where I'm holding myself back and where I'm expanding at the same time. And they kind of intertwine, and then when they come together, I get to unlock myself and discharge yesterday and really enhance today's trend-setting opportunities, because they're all within me. And this book is totally written from the inside. And when you expand and energize your internal landscape, you paint the scenery of your physical world with color and brilliant ideas.
You make it sound so easy. Is it that easy to do?
No. I got to be honest with you. And I just said the key word. Everybody says set boundaries, set boundaries. Well, a boundary is a new fear. But the word no is the most powerful word in the dictionary if you just say no and answer no questions. But if somebody asks you a question after you said no and you answer it, the no is gone. It's no, thank you, that's it. That's the power of no, and that's a chapter in this book. No is the boundary for everything.
I never thought about it like that. And no is a stop word, isn't it? No,
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
All of those words are stop words.
Yeah, just no. And and what no means is it's not for you today. It doesn't hurt nobody's feelings. See, we've been hurt to say no's are bad, but sometimes a no in a business deal is the greatest success you ever had. Because it was no, and it was the best thing for you.
I think you've done a really good job of explaining and giving an overview of the book. Is there anything else you want to say to the listener about the book?
Yes, you buy the book. You can read this book from now to eternity and get something new out of it every time. But the book, by being unpunctuated, allows the reader to read it and discover themselves. And in being in first person, you act like you wrote it and you went through it all, but it really opens your eyes to yourself. And that's what personal growth, expansionism, any word you want to use, is I liberate me from me. And that's what this book does. I liberate me from me, sets me free to feel robust energy, enterprising my dreams to be my way of life. And see, the way I just spoke, you see the freedom in them words?
Yes.
Or feel the freedom? And that's what this book is. This book is about feeling freedom, enjoying sassy, classy tenacity, to enjoy your sovereign self-worth.
What would you say was the biggest influence on you to develop this philosophy that you've developed?
I'll be honest with you. I went from 2001 to 2009 trying to do the change, heal, create, transformation, all that stuff. My life was going nowhere. It wasn't until I disconnected from the words that change, heal, create, transformation, forgiveness, and use appreciation instead of forgiveness, because that's the highest form of being proud of yourself or energizing yourself there is. Because when you appreciate the situation, you get the value. Liberation over heal, because heal, there's still scars and things in there. But when you feel the liberation, you feel a sensation of sovereignty flow through you. And it's not about releasing the past, it's about discharging the past. And that's what this book does. Discharges the past. And it's a real simple saying. I expand out of yesterday to energize today, to enterprise my dreams, to experience my life of galvanized gusto in a lavish, leisurely way. And see, them words become, and a rhyme takes over the inner dialogue. And that's what this book will do, is allow you to take over the inner landscape and have a new feeling. And it discharges the hurt emotions and the painful feelings to open up enterprising emotions and far-seeing feelings to enjoy life.
I'm sure the listeners are saying to themselves, where can we find the book? And it's on Amazon. So let me give you the information about how to find it. Just go to Amazon, and there's a big search feature. If you've never been to Amazon, there's a big, long, sort of a light gray box. And all you have to do is type in the title of the book. And let me give you that title. My Wisdom, WISDOM, Breathes, BREATHES, Wisdom Energizes Fun. Now, it's Rob's whole name as an author. So it's by Robert, ROBERT, Wilson, WILSON. Just type my Wisdom Breeze by Robert A. Wilson, click on it, and the book will come right up. And you can do there's a little excerpt. It says on the cover, look inside. There's an excerpt, and you can purchase it right there on that site. Now, Rob, you've got so many other things going, and you have a website. The book is on the website, so let's give our listeners, let's tell them what the address is for the website.
Very simple, mycowboywisdom.com.
Now, tell me a little bit about what's there, because there's a lot of stuff. I looked at the website, and there's a whole lot of information there. There's a bio about you, and there's information about your books, but there's also a lot of other stuff there.
Well, some of my writings, I post my writings on that website, but what the website gives you is there's meditations, but it shows you my I call it hypnoacuity, because it releases you and discharges you from being hooked on therapy to opening your keen vision, hearing, and inspiration. And if you take the word mind out of your life and use the word inspiration, you don't become attached to the mind is always connected to something, but inspiration opens you up. And it's also the hypnocuity as I really become a certified hypnotherapist here in Arizona. And one thing I understand is I've helped people alleviate pain, and it's through hypnosis, and I can do that. Smoking cessation. But for me, I want to open people up to understand they're unique and they have the mystique to experience their dreams. And that's my biggest thing for people is to understand the only thing holding them back is their societized thinking and the way they're attached to yesterday. So you detach yesterday and you open up today's trend-setting opportunities. And that opens your lives. And that opens up your life.
There's also a blog on your website, right?
Yeah, there's lots of writings on that.
Give me an example of what they'd find in the blog.
Well, they'd find there's lots of things in there. I just put them on there and then I just go away kind of, but it's really about, there's poems on there, and I'll just go there and I'll show you what's on there. And
yeah, the listeners can go and check it out. But it sounds like there's all kinds of interesting stuff there. Now you're also
there is, and there's other books on there too.
Because this is not the only book you've written.
No, I've written 8 of them. And the thing I really want to express to them, I don't write journals. I write books to show people my journey from start to finish. And that's what I've done with this. And it's really about allowing people to use my challenges, because our challenges aren't challenges. Our challenges are wisdom for other people to expand. And that's what it does. And that's what it did for me.
You're also on some of the other social media platforms. You're on Facebook, so how could they find you on Facebook, Rob?
It's just Robert A. Wilson. And on Twitter, it's just CWBY, or My Cowboy Wisdom. There's 2 of them. And on LinkedIn, it's Cowboy Wisdom. And on Instagram, it's Cowboy Wisdom.
Excellent.
And also, I do 2 Facebook Lives a week. I'm going to start them up next week. I've been going to school since January of this year till my last class next Thursday, because I want to show people a better way to experience life by trusting their own abilities. And that's what My Wisdom Breeze and Cowboy Wisdom Hypnoacuity is showing people their inner talents to rise and shine in their own way.
You know, your philosophy is so interesting, and you've developed it over a period of your life, and you just you have so much to say. This is your work, and I think it's so important for an author to have the last word about their work. What would you like to leave the listeners with about My Wisdom Breathes, Wisdom Energizes Fun? What do you want them to take away, Rob?
It's an enterprising wisdom with an energized energy for them to open their life up and realize when they let go and discharge yesterday and quit trying to live their life through their parents and their old way of life, and open up to listening to the universe and themselves and question their fears. Because I got something I want to really express to them. Fear is the first emotion actualizing realization, but fear is feelings, emotion anchored in yesterday. And that, when you query that, and this book will help you open your eyes to understand fear is just something in our emotions and inside ourselves. And this book will open you up to understand that you encompass the wisdom, inspiration, and talent. And something that's in this book is you're going to know and think your way to yesterday, and you're going to innovate your way and imagine your way to your promised land. And what this book I really want people to take away from, it activates your imagination, energizes your wisdom, enterprises your intuition, and opens your innovation and opens your talent to expand through life, because you are gifted in so many ways, but your gifts are unique to you, and they're going to be outside of the society-trained mind. And that's what I want people to take away.
Such an interesting book, such an interesting idea, so creative, Rob. Thank you so much for being our guest today on Books on Air. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you.
That is a two-way street. It's been my honor and privilege, and thank you for having me, and I really enjoyed this. And you're really great to me.
Thank you. Remember, you can find My Wisdom Breathes, Wisdom Energizes Fun by Robert A. Wilson on Amazon. You've been listening to the Books on Air podcast, brought to you on webtalkradio.net. You can also hear this podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Apple Podcast. I'm Suzanne Harris, and I hope that you'll join me for the next Books on Air podcast, because remember, you never know who's going to be here, and you never know what we're going to talk about. Thank you so very much for listening.